Parts of them, though, have fallen off. Parts of the plane fell off when this crash landing happened. There you can see it spread across the runway there. What appears to be landing gear on the runway. And you're looking at those pictures. The stairs were deployed. The slides were deployed for people to get off of this plane very quickly. We don't know exactly how many people were on board the plane, the extent of any injuries, if any at all. The extent of injuries, if any at all. And we want to see one of the first videos we got into CNN right after this crash. Let's take a look. This is a video that came off of YouTube shortly after this crash, apparently from someone inside of the airport. You can see the plane burning there. And according to witnesses, the plane made a crash landing. They also said they saw the plane spin around like a top. Important to clarify, not a flip in the air, but spun around like a top. I want to get to CNN's Richard Quest now. Richard, this airplane is located, this airport is located about 12 miles from San Francisco, downtown San Francisco proper. One of the 30 busiest airports worldwide. 37 million people flying through this airport, obviously a very proficient airport, and for this to happen on a Saturday afternoon, obviously tragic. We don't know exactly what went wrong here, but obviously something did.
Oh, absolutely. And what we can say, of course, is, San Francisco, like LAX, they are the major Asia and Pacific gateways for the United States. Looking at the pictures now, hearing what Jim Tellman said, hearing what the other eyewitnesses said about how this plane spun round after the tail hit ground, we can start to, we will not, let's be absolutely blunt and clear. We will not know why this tail hit the end of the runway at the early stage that it did for many weeks, if not months, until the NTSB produces its interim and then final report. But clearly what we can now see, of course, is the chronology of events as seen by eyewitnesses. And one it's worth mentioning here, you've got to go back quite some time before you see, of course, previous incidents in the United States. There's the Coghlan Continental Airline incident, which happened in 2009. Of course, 49 people died in that particular incident. But if you're talking about major passenger jets, large-scale, 300-seat passenger jets, you really are going back through until 2001 before you actually see. You go back to November of 2001, where you have the American Airlines incident, where 260 people died in that. So the size of this sort of aircraft having a fatality of emergencies in this manner is very rare. And that's why the investigators will want to know exactly what was happening on that aircraft at the moment of touchdown. And also one other thing, Don, they'll want to know, because it's not just enough to know why or how this crash happened. They'll want to know about the evacuation procedures, the safety procedures that could be improved in the future. Look at the pictures. The pictures show that the roof of the fuselage is burnt out from the back of the cockpit pretty much to the aft of the wings. But the rear of the aircraft is untouched. So they're going to want to know about all the dynamics of a fire that took place, what happened in that fire, which could, of course, impede passengers from leaving the aircraft, and that will be part of the final investigation, not only why or what the pilots or whatever happened in the cockpit in terms of the landing itself.
And Richard, if looking at this particular plane, and it hasn't spun around yet, but I am able to see only if you're sitting on the plane looking forward as you would flying. Yep. I only see the engine on the right wing.
Yeah, the left engine has disengaged from the aircraft. The empennage, the tail, all of the rear has disengaged from the aircraft. You can see the rear pressure bulkhead. That's the green bit right at the back of the aircraft. We have slides primarily on the right of the aircraft. This is a 777-200 aircraft. I was saying LR, but it's an ER, extended range aircraft, which is what Asiana uses across the across the Pacific. It was delivered. The delivery date was 2006, so it's a young plane by any definition for this sort of route. We can see the forward slats are extended. We can see it's in landing configuration. Something happened that caused the aircraft to tail strike or to come down heavy, which then has left the landing gear collapsing, which has caused the aircraft to spin round in multiple times before leaving the runway. And what the investigators will focus on is those final moments of flight, and then focus on the evacuation, the fire, which looks to have been fierce at the top of the fuselage.
Okay. Just getting new information in, Richard, from the FAA. Flights into and out of San Francisco International Airport have been canceled following the crash of Asiana Flight 214 from South Korea, Seoul, South Korea. That's, again, according to the FAA. All flights have been canceled in and out of San Francisco International Airport. Some of those flights are being diverted to LAX. So if you are concerned about someone there, please contact the airline for details. But again, flights canceled in and out of San Francisco International Airport. Some of the flights are being sent to LAX, diverted to LAX because of this. I want to go to CNN's Dana Bash now. Dana, you were near the airport and you were trying to make your way, I would assume, from San Francisco back to D.C.? Dana?
Sorry, Don, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Tell us where you were and what you saw.
That's exactly right. I was with family here. I am with family here in San Francisco, and I was heading to the airport to make my way back to Washington, where I live. And we were turning the corner, right coming off the highway, and suddenly everybody slammed on their brakes. And as we got closer, we realized the reason, and it was because we could see the smoke sort of billowing up from the runway where this plane had clearly crashed. And obviously I'm sure everybody around us did the same thing in their cars, turned on the radio, and we heard the news pretty fast. Then a police car came up and told us and everybody else was trying to get into the airport, sorry, the airport's closed, you got to go, you got to move. And so they diverted traffic. From pretty much the moment we saw that smoke on, we didn't see any planes take off. We didn't see any planes land. And I think what is noteworthy, I saw somebody talking about the weather not being a factor. There's not a cloud in the sky here in the San Francisco area, at least over SFO. So certainly doesn't seem like that was the issue, at least on the landing portion of this flight.
Okay. And so, Dana, immediately you saw, one person said they didn't see a fireball, they just saw smoke.
That's exactly right. No, I didn't see the actual crash happen. We kind of came around the bend on the highway, probably minutes, maybe even seconds after it happened, but that's exactly what we saw. We just saw a plume of smoke going up, and then in the distance, we didn't know it for sure, but it certainly looked like it was the plane that had just crashed on the runway. Certainly, as you can imagine, extremely eerie. And obviously, we are not alone in that we are holiday travelers, and we were coming up to a major airport trying to get on a plane at the end of a holiday week, and we were diverted. And I'm probably like many people right now, making phone calls trying to get alternative transportation and alternative flights home. Thank goodness it doesn't. We're still waiting to hear specifics about what happened to the people on the plane, but thank goodness that is a concern right now, more or as much as the fact that people were on this plane and are certainly very scared.
All right, Dana Bash, stand by. We're going to need you throughout the evening here on CNN. Again, breaking news here on CNN. A large commercial airliner crashed and burned just a short time ago at the San Francisco International Airport. You're looking at pictures from the scene now. You can see the top of the fuselage burned out here. You can also see on a wider shot that there is no rudder. The tail section is completely off of this plane. This is a Boeing 777 from Asiana Airlines, which is a large South Korean airline. This is what we know right now. The FAA is calling this a crash landing. The tail broke off the plane, as we've been saying. You're looking at it there. The top of the fuselage burned. Pieces of the wing and other parts of the plane were flying everywhere, we're told. Not sure how many people are on board this plane. We're not sure of the extent of the injuries, if any at all. We did see emergency slides deployed. The emergency slide on both sides of the plane deployed here so that passengers could get off of this plane very quickly. We have a team of reporters around the country, also in South Korea as well, and our Richard Quest is in London, and several aviation experts to help guide us through this story until we figure out exactly what happened to those passengers, if those passengers are okay, and if there's any early information we can find out about what might have caused this crash. We do know in the moments since this happened, planes were stopped on the runway here. They were diverted in the air. And just in the last few minutes, we have been told, confirmed, the FAA has confirmed that all flights in and out of San Francisco International Airport canceled. Some of them being diverted to other airports. One large airport in the area or close would be LAX in Los Angeles, and that's where some of the flights are going now. If you need information, we're told that you can check with particular carriers. 5:30 Eastern time. I'm just getting information from my producer in my ear now. 5:30 Eastern time. The National Transportation and Safety Board, NTSB, holding a press conference, and we will carry that for you live. They will be live in Washington with that, and we will carry it for you live. Also, as I get more information here, I want to tell you this is also reportable into CNN. A national security official tells CNN there are no signs of terrorism from the crash. Okay? Also, other details that we are getting in from here is that, again, the airport has been closed. There were reports that the Coast Guard were looking for someone in the water. We asked that question to the Coast Guard. They said they would confirm that a team had been sent out, but no other information on that. And again, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, a press conference with the NTSB will be held live, and we'll carry it here for you on CNN. Let's look at some of the eye reports that we're getting in now from people who were very close to this situation. This is Christine Miller, who is a CNN eye reporter, took this picture shortly after that crash happened. Another eye report, and I can't read the name from that one as well, but a CNN eye reporter taking a picture from a little bit further out. Sven Duenwald, I am told, thank you, we appreciate your pictures here. And you can send them to ireport.com if you have them. And this is Val Varden, who's also sent a picture in. Now, live pictures now. This is from our affiliate KGO in San Francisco. And you can see the emergency apparatus going onto the tarmac now to try to help with the situation here. These are ground shots from San Francisco International Airport. And you're getting this, you're seeing this just as I am seeing it. The crash happened just a little bit over an hour ago, but still much to clean up, tons of investigating to do, and probably some people to tend to, the people who were on board that plane. And you can see, again, the ambulances going out towards the tarmac there, emergency vehicles going out towards the tarmac. You heard from Mary Schiavo, who is formerly with the FAA, again saying that they're going to have recordings that will help them out with this particular situation. I am counting 10 emergency vehicles so far, at least, going out there, 10 ambulances, plus other vehicles, including fire trucks, hook and ladder, and I'm sure all of the resources there in San Francisco are available, and they are on top of it. This is a #1 priority. Again, this is a big story happening here in the United States, but this flight originated in Seoul, South Korea. And as we look at the burnt-out wreckage of this airplane, we want to tell you again, we don't know how many people were on board this plane and if there are any injuries. We're working to get that information for you. But they are sending emergency vehicles onto the runway here, and we're not exactly sure what is going on at this, moments after this crash happened, when it appears everyone is off this plane. At least we hope everyone is off the plane. We're waiting for official word on that. More information. This is from a source here at CNN. It says Asiana Airlines is currently investigating what caused Flight 214 to crash land at San Francisco Airport. That's a spokesman from Asiana Airlines told CNN. It's currently 5:43 in the morning in Seoul, South Korea. So it's really early there, and they're just getting news of this information as well. Let's go to Renee Marsh, who's following the developments for us from Washington, D.C., where that NTSB press conference will be held in Washington. Just over an hour and about 15 minutes, we're going to hear from the NTSB. What new information, if any, are you getting, Renee?
Well, Don, what we want to do now is kind of flesh out, where they go from here. We are going to get some initial information from the NTSB. Of course, they're en route. They'll be making their way there to the crash scene. But how this will all work is the first thing that they're going to do when they get on the ground is they're going to want to talk to those local officials, find out what kind of information they have and know about the people who are on board, as well as the debris field, things of that sort. Also, as you would imagine, they'd want to inspect the damage. And they'll be broken up. The NTSB team will be broken up into different groups that specialize in different things. So you'll have your weather group that will look at weather conditions. We just heard earlier that it was a perfect day for flying, but they'll want to prove that for themselves. So they'll have a group focusing specifically on that. Then you'll have a group looking at air traffic control and the communications between the tower and the pilot. So they'll be looking at that aspect. And then they'll be looking really closely at the pilot's training. How did this pilot sleep the night before? What did he eat the night before? Of course, there'll be drug and alcohol testing as well on people on board as far as the crew members go. And then last and certainly not least is they're going to want to look at the landing gear, the mechanics of this plane. These are all the pieces that are going to go into this investigation. And we can expect a number of briefings in the upcoming days from the NTSB. Simply revealing exactly what they've been finding out as the day goes on. Of course, we know these investigations take quite some time. The key here, of course, is going to be those black boxes. There are two black boxes typically on board these planes. You have the flight data recorder, and you also have the cockpit voice recorder. And on that cockpit voice recorder, you can hear things like the voices. You can hear background noises. You can hear if there was a warning signal that may have gone off. The key here, though, is those boxes are usually in the tail of the plane, and we can see from those pictures what happened to the tail of the plane. But the good news, though, Don, usually those devices are packed in pretty sturdy, so we can bet that they will be pulling out those black boxes, bringing them back here to Washington, D.C., so they can analyze the data there and piece together exactly what went terribly wrong there in San Francisco. Don?
And Renee, we will be getting back to you as well when this NTSB press conference happens at 5:30 Eastern Time. Renee Marsh in Washington, thank you very much.